Welcome to Stampscapes Live. We're doing this scene right here, this autumn scene on the holographic cardstock. Now this is what it starts off as, but I've laid down some blocking out with the Brilliance White, and I've locked down my overall composition here using both spray fixative and the Krylon triple thick. Now I've gone on here with about 3 different layers. I've locked down the white, stamped over it with the Brilliance Black, locked that down, and then I added some more Brilliance Black into some of the rocks down here for some just preliminary shading work. And then I've locked that down again, getting it prepared for the alcohol pens and acrylic markers that are to come on here. But you can see how this spray sealant really can knock down the patterning in the background. But for me, it really kind of makes it more usable in terms of a scene than what it looks like just raw. I mean, this is really hard to see any imagery on top of, okay? But now down here, the place to compare it to is these areas right here where it's just bare and I haven't applied any white. The white has been applied right back into these areas like that. But this isn't so easy to kind of work around, but this is. So I think that looks like it could be just a sky that we might see out there in nature. It's a little bit more extreme, but it's not quite as overpoweringly difficult to work on as this. Okay, it doesn't just spray sealing this alone doesn't do this, okay? This is about 5 layers of sealant over the top of it, just kind of making it look that way, okay? So, I mean, you can do a lot less spraying. You can spray, lock down your imagery, and mask off the areas that you don't want sprays sealed and to get that frosted look over the top of. But I think it looks just fine. Like I said, it just makes it more workable for me. Hello, Diana. How are you? How are things going? How's the voice? All right, so alcohol pens. I really locked down that ink on there, hopefully. So hopefully applying this ink over the top of this, I want it to be something, kind of in the spirit of, it's not going to be like working on like a glossy cardstock or just white cardstock, okay, because this is a metallic coat, surface right here in the holographic cardstock. But I'm hoping that the white pigment ink of the Brilliance that's been spray sealed will provide me kind of a foundation for, I don't know, just a little bit more of an easier application of media than working on just metallic cardstock. Okay, that's really difficult to work on. But that's why we do this blocking out, and hopefully it will work out just fine. Hello, Cynthia. Hello, everyone. Hello, Linda. Good to see you all. All right, let's see. Nah, I don't want pink on here. Well, maybe some pink in the trees, because this is going to be kind of a golden, orange, reds up in the foliage right here. Okay, now what I'm looking for is a non-smearing style of application of this ink. In other words, I don't want it to smear around my Brilliance Black that has been applied on those trees like that. No voice today. Second vocal cord surgery. Wow. Okay, so that happened fast then. Didn't that just happen to you? What's it been, about 2 months now? Well, hopefully you get the results that the surgery was intended for. And as always with anyone with a procedure like that, or any type of procedure, I hope you have a nice boring and smooth. No complication recovery. Okay, so I'm picking up a little bit of this black right here. You can see it kind of mixed in with that pink right there. Now, I let this dry for a pretty good amount of time. And like I said, I spray sealed this, but like, I just did that like, I don't know, 15 minutes ago. So it might benefit me to allow that to dry a little bit longer. I had it out in the sun because I don't really need to worry about fading with this at all. And it was like really bright sun, but you know what I mean? It could stand to use a little bit more time out there. Okay, so just a little bit of pink right there. Let's go on with a pretty warm tone like this one right here. No, that's a little bit too orange still. I'm using the skin tone pens, but let's just go back to just some general colors here, okay? All right, so I've added a little bit of that pink into the trees. You can't really see it at all because it's just a really base, pale coating of that, okay? All right, so fall foliage trees. I'm going to put green down in this grassy area right in here. So I want to use some common tones in both areas just so that there's a bit more uniformity to them. So let's go with, let's see. I'm still being fairly conservative here. Here's a little bit of beige. Okay, now beige can be used in both kind of zones. The grassy area plus the tree area. So I'm going to apply that first, okay, as a base layer coat. So we're applying something that the two areas will have in common so that they're not so, what's the word? Is the word disparate or kind of unrelated, okay? We want to create that commonality with them. So this is just the alcohol inks. A lot of it is going to be the acrylic paint pen work over the top of them. But I do believe that this is kind of that transition media in between. Now, whether or not I can just go in straight with the acrylic pens, I don't think I can, and to have it look I don't know, maybe blended or something like that. All right, so I'm really very, very faint layers. Okay, now even if we can't see the layers of alcohol ink, just having that alcohol over the top of it though, like this, it's providing a coating of that alcohol ink on there. Okay, now that layer in there will make it easier to blend the colors that would come afterwards on there too. Okay, so you know what I mean? So it's not a lost cause. Now you can say that, well, you can just probably add in like a clear coat over the top of that if you want to as well. But if these are going to be colors down here anyways, then you might as well just use a faint version of the color that it's going to end up being anyway, right? All right, let's see here. I think what I'm doing right here, I don't think I'm moving around any of the imagery impressions in black, but a little bit of that black that I applied over the top. Oh, look at that right there. that alcohol removed some of that white there, because I was really kind of digging into there. So it did dissolve some of that spray sealant that went over the top of it. Okay, and then because of that, I wiped right through the white pigment ink in there. Okay, so note taken. I can't really work it too much then, all right? Or as much as I would probably want, because you can see that holographic coming right through there now. So it'd be like taking a little alcohol on a cotton, ball or something like that, and I could probably wipe off this whole thing. I would never do that, but I probably could. So I guess maybe thinner layers of this alcohol then. Okay, let's try with some of this yellow now. Okay, it's a little bit canary yellow. I'm going to use a lighter touch then. Keeping in mind that removal, whatever, potential. I guess it's kind of like dissolving the acrylic on there. And again, maybe if I allowed this to dry a little bit longer, it would be set up more. I don't know. That sealant does dry pretty fast though, so maybe it just needs a thicker layer. I don't know. The workable fixative doesn't go on very thick, but the triple thick, absolutely does so. But I don't know. When I work on it like this though, I'm not feeling like it coming out. If I was just really digging down, I don't know, wherever that area is. Over in that area. Okay, but that being said, I mean, if that little area right there kind of stands out too much, like that, I mean, you can just go back in and add another layer of white over the top of it and just spray seal it off too. So it's a pretty forgiving process when that, as far as that goes. Now, if it was like a big, solid, kind of object and I had to re-stamp a whole image over the top of it and get it aligned, that'd be a hassle, but I don't have to do anything like that here. All right. It's a little bit of brighter area right here, so I can layer it. So you can see that little kind of initial kind of whatever the color scheme, I guess, right? So I'm going a little bit thicker in some areas with the ink. I guess I need to be a little bit careful because as I go brighter like that, if I go too much, I guess I'm lifting off the ink and it'll be looking duller because there's going to be less ink on there because it's not going to stick or stand out on top of the holographic like it does on white. All right, so I have that. So we'll go on, I don't know, we'll color the rocks something else, gray tones or something, maybe a cool tone scheme. I'm going to be adding in more images into the foreground, more pine trees, things like that. But I didn't do it yet because I figured it's going to be easier to color these in nice and smoothly and whatever, and then add the foreground over the top of it. Just in black, maybe stays on black or something like that. Okay, let's see. Hello, Annie. All right, let's try some green. Look at that, those tones up there, though, in the sky. It's really in the water there. So I'm going to be adding some more white up here and more cloud structures as well. But let's try some of this green. Did I didn't already add this green down here, did I? I don't think I did. So my touches, it looks like this kind of. I'm doing this type of thing. Okay. I'm kind of hitting some areas down in the shadow areas. And that image is, or the images are right here. So see these areas within the design where the grassy little bushy textures underneath the trees. I'm hitting those areas with the green here to make those areas look darker. Okay, so I'm just kind of reiterating the shadow areas. I mean, this is a really light green, you know, so maybe this one, you know, doesn't have to be used for the shadows. I can use a darker green, but that's how I kind of start off here, at least, to give the imagery a little bit more kind of volumes within that space. So in other words, I think it looks better than just to color it in uniformly, okay? When you use a little bit less coloring, that's not exactly the description, you know, but of what's going on. But it is, when you color up something completely like this, it tends to flatten out the image because there's no lights and darks within the space or the object. But when you have it varied like that, you know, you introduce the element of lighting. Okay. All right, let's see, get some of this green up into some of these evergreens. There's some evergreens amongst the the deciduous right in here. So if you can't tell which ones are which, just kind of make it up and just say, okay, this tree is going to be green, and this one's going to be, you know, whatever other color, unless it's all green, like in the spring. Okay, but I want to try this out because I really want to utilize this paper for other types of, you know, scenes. So I want to see what's kind of kind of the potential with it. Because some of these papers, they're so visually loud. They're really exciting papers, but they're very difficult to use because of that patterning in there. Like, if I was just to stamp that imagery over the top of this, it would be completely, you wouldn't even be able to see it, because this goes from a reflected light, you know, like white light, to black, basically, like on there, okay? But you can see right here, you know, you can see the imagery. Yeah. So it makes it possible for scenic stampers to use, at least. Okay, that was the yellow and kind of pastel green. Let's move into a brighter orangish tone. And let's bring that into these trees. That looks like really extreme there. I'll look to blend this color out quite a bit because it is kind of extreme. But I don't know. I'll have it a little bit extreme in here against that extreme paper. So I'm a little bit conservative with my autumn coloring a lot of times. In my latest kind of tweaking videos, though, I am going with like a really bright red at times, though. All right, so those are the kind of deciduous trees right in there. Something like that. Okay. I should bring some of those brighter tones underneath as well. Well, let's wait to do that, though. See, these ones are the deciduous right here. I don't want the deciduous to look like boring, though, so I'm going to have to figure something out. Oh, what I usually do is I usually add in, like, some darker impressions, like the leafless limbs, like right in here, with, like, black in there, with all the coloring that I tend to do. But that's like on white cardstock, though. I'll see if that type of little trick is applicable to this type of process. We'll see. The bald spot, you could just stamp a grass texture stamp over the tip. You could, yeah. But I don't, if that's really reflective down here, you know, like that. If it's distracting, I'll want to mute it out and just, what I would do is I would run some white in there and then stamp something over the top of it or something like that. Because it is, you know, going to show through like that. So it can potentially show through. Like if I stamp a tree trunk right here, you don't know if that area in the tree trunk, if it's going to have a different texture by stamping over that bare tree. So I think it's good to get some of that white down there maybe, just to mute it out a little bit, because it could look like matte image, matte object, gloss object, matte up here. So you don't want that, really that either. It's not so extreme though. Like I don't know, it's standing out quite a bit. Like you can't see it right there at all, but when I get that patterning like that, and when the pattern is like that area of lightness, like right in there, it does show. So this is like it's like a traveling, you know, like these striations right here. So I don't know. We'll see. It just it depends. Oh, you know how much it stands out. That red is kind of extreme there. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to add that down like that, but maybe not quite so early. Let's go to, okay, so that's going like from a brilliant yellow, like an orangish yellow, to a pretty bright red. Let's go with that intermediate color in there first. You don't have to blend in so much if you're just kind of taking things a little bit more incrementally. So I'll go incremental to save me a little bit of time. Plus, I don't want to overwork it too. You know, with potentially digging through that, you know, the spray sealant layers. Okay, now this patterning right here in texturing is looking very different than what it's going to look like, because remember, the acrylic paint pen is going to go over this whole thing too, so we're just kind of setting a foundation of kind of tones and hue over the trees, where those colors are going to take place, so the color changes are going to take place. So you can see this as like being like a primer, you know, for the colors that are going to go on top. And in this case, it's like multiple primers. There was the white blocking out, you know, then these foundation colors. All right, now let's see. I need a warmer red. I don't have it. I have another set of pens that I can use too, but I know that a lot of this is going to get covered up, so I won't do too much with this. In other words, I'm not going to take too much time to really blend everything together. If a large portion of it is just going to get covered up anyway. But one thing is occurring to me, though. And I do need to make my greens much, much brighter because that really is super intense up there right now. All right, so that was the red. Let's go back to, this is a brownish gray, which seems to be one of my favorite tones because it kind of mellows things out a bit. Both brown tones and gray tones tend to do that, so this one's kind of like, I don't know, it has both of those kind of, I don't know, whatever tones in it. That's what that looks like right over here. Okay. And see how that red is so extreme right there. I'm just going right into the red and then blending it out into that surrounding area. That red is really locked down though. That's what's kind of surprising me too. It's not moving around quite as much. I think that kind of surprised me in one of those other pieces too that I just did recently and was trying some different effects on it. I guess I expect that alcohol ink to really dissolve a lot faster and to spread out as it does on other surfaces that I do this on. So I don't know, maybe it's the spray sealant or something like that that's kind of merging with it or something like that. All right, so it goes like that. All right, now let's bring up the greens a lot more. The greens definitely are being kind of left behind here, so let's go with kind of a muted seafoam-ish green and this bright one right here. They're about the same value, but one's a lot brighter and warmer. Now this one's really bright right here, so I don't know, maybe once we get to that little bald spot, it might not need to be covered up, you know, too much. If this bright green alters that area, you know, pretty good deal. All right, this green is really doing the trick here. We can even bring it up into some of those orangish yellow tones. For some reason, this lime green is dissolving that red faster than the brownish. The brownish gray I've used a lot, so maybe it's dry. Maybe that's it. This is really like super juicy because I'm not really using you know, such a bright color that often. All right, this green right here is really doing the trick. All right. It's creating a pretty good foundation. Yeah, I'm going to spray seal this anyways, Linda, so yeah, anything that might need to be done. See, I mean, I can see it right there, but I don't know. That's going to be covered up with a lot of areas around. He'll have a lot of the acrylic paint in there too, so yeah, I'm thinking I don't need to do anything to it. For those that have just joined in, what I was doing is I was really working an area a lot with some of this alcohol color, and what it did was it it dissolved some of the spray sealant that's been applied over all the imagery and white pigment ink that's already been applied down on here. And it dug right through that to the bare paper. That's why it looks like kind of shiny in there, in that spot. But again, that's going to get covered up, so I don't think that should really pose a visual problem in here. Only you guys will see that, or anyone that watches the video. All right, it's coming in with a little bit of that green again. I'm kind of going in here and bringing some of that color down in here where it dissolves and it gets on the tip of this pen, but then I just kind of utilize that and run it around in different areas. Alright, so we have that. A little bit of a muddy kind of, looking scene. I always kind of point that out because a lot of people that go into the process of creating their scenes, when you use a lot of different colors, you don't always have to use like tons of colors on it. Just in the coloring process, when we do like paint pen work or something like that, and it's kind of doing highlighting, that's not kind of mudding up everything. But this goes for dye-based inks and any of those types of transparent color styles of applications, alcohol inks, dye-based inks, I don't know, what else is transparent? I don't know, to some extent colored pencils in a way. They're not really transparent, but they kind of go on transparent or, definitely translucent. They're not opaque. You can easily overwork an area with them in the process of achieving like a really rich tone like that, okay? Where it's like multiple colors and, the colors are kind of shining through like that. But what you do is you just go back in with your white paint pen, or if you have some acrylic paint pens, and you just redefine the, the crisp areas within those objects or spaces, and that does the trick. Or you take it the opposite way. If it looks a little muted or something like that, muddied up in terms of the colors, muddled, I guess, not muddied, but you can kind of push it even more, and you can just apply some white pigment ink over the top of it where it kind of makes sense that it's a little bit more muddled, okay, because it's got a veil of like haze, and fog over the front of it. Okay, I'm going back in with some more of this orange right here. It's orangish yellow. I felt that these trees needed a little bit of that orangish tinge in them. Okay, the ones that are going to be more greenish. And let's bring some of that down in this green down here too. It was just too bright in the warm tones. Well, I guess the green tones are warm too, but and it just needed a little bit more. I keep using the word, but it's like continuity between all these objects. You can have like really distinctive color changes out there, but you want them to harmonize with each other too, and not look so different from one another. All right, let's see. The thing with me, I just need to make sure that everything doesn't come out like the same which is, something that I need to watch out for, because I just, I keep working and working and working, with certain colors. Sometimes too much, I'm sure, but like I was telling someone that was telling me that sometimes they, what were they saying? I forget what they were saying. They go, what, they get some areas muddled or something like that. But I said, well, it's Jeannie. There you are. What did I say, Jeannie, the other day? I said it's good because, you're always kind of pushing the boundaries, you know what I mean? Going over it, you know what I mean, with some scenes where you got to kind of bring it back a little bit. But it's always kind of, you know what I mean? You don't want to, like, hold back, And that's, yeah, you could with some of your stuff, but, some of the stuff just kind of, go a little bit, kind of go a little bit nuts with it in terms of your color applications. Or maybe not nuts, but go beyond, like, your comfort zone. And that's what always kind of pushes your work. And plus, there's always other things that you can do. It's not like, oh my God, I added too much green there. It's ruined, or something like that, because we can add white over the top of it or something like that. But, my pieces are constantly getting kind of muddled. Some of the scenes don't. Some of those recent pieces on eBay, like that, those ones with the bridge, like in different seasons, those ones, I don't know, for some reason came out, just really, fluidly and everything like that. But like on stuff like this looks really muddled to me right now. So I'm just kind of recovering some of it a little bit. But, we'll see if that ends up looking good. That might end up being a good thing once I add in the pens to pair with this, crazy kind of holographic patterning on there. Hello, Charlie. And hello, Ginger. You like these ones, huh, Jeannie? Jeannie, you ought to do one day. You didn't post any more of those kind of like I don't know, what do you call that when you used to do all those kind of just graphical types of applications of the stamps, where you just kind of repeat them in like different patterns and forms, just in black and white. You got to do one of those someday for like old time's sake. It's like op art or something like that. Or it wasn't Mandela's because it wasn't in this circular kind of patterning like that, but that repeated type of imagery type of thing. That was a different period in your stamping. Hello, Bugs. Good to see ya. Thanks for hopping in, joining in here. So I'm going to do this kind of preliminary foundation on this piece as one live stream, and then I'm going to do like the next step in a future live stream. Maybe the alcohol inks are going to be applied in this one, and then we'll do the acrylic paint pen work the next time. So you're not, I'm not putting everyone to sleep. Okay, so the rock's down here, okay? Now see that rock, some of that patterning is showing through like that. And the temperature changes, where this pattern is right here. The rock is cool right now, but it just depends on kind of what angle and what lighting is on these right here. But you can see over here and over here, I've added more white underneath, my imagery, and a little bit less so right in here because that, that patterning is showing through of the holographic paper. All right. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to get these rocks nice and rich, and they don't have to kind of visually pair with this coloring going on in the background, but it wouldn't be bad to have some of that in there so they have something in common. So here's this brownish gray. And did I put the tan down here? Now I can't even remember. bringing some of this warm color into these rocks. Okay, I didn't add some of this down here. Maybe I didn't know what color I wanted to do first, but... Okay, so I'm not coloring all this in uniformly. It's kind of like this again. Okay. My tip here is getting... I need a new tip on this pen. But let's get some of this laid down here. Yeah, I lost my tip here. That's the first tip I've lost on one of these. I think they have... That came with extras, though. Oh, let's get something similar. Let's go. This one's really light. Let's go back over to the skin-toned pens here. Skin tone and rock, that's about the same, right? Let me go with a little bit of a lighter one. Start off here. Let's use that chisel tip. Yeah. Check out the latest Rubber Stamp Madness with Genie featured in there. Someone sent me an email that got the latest issue of Rubber Stamp Madness, and they said, yeah, Genie, mentioned, Stampscapes a lot, quoted, but as well as the live streams here. But they said, but they pointed out that that thousands of Stampscape stamps in your collection. I couldn't remember what you said about that, Genie, but I was saying that maybe that part came with the live, over the phone interview. Because I don't think you would have typed that out in response to an answer of whatever you were given. Thousands of Stampscapes. Stampscapes doesn't have thousands unless you had like multiples of the same stamp, Okay, so anyways, those rocks down there have been tinted, so now they're, have a little bit of that tone down there. Can you kind of see, you can definitely see kind of direction of this area up here. But you can kind of see the direction of the, those rocks down here. It is kind of weird if you haven't, colored on top of this type of, paper before. I think it was it this paper? Or was it another paper? I think it was the holographic that someone in the Facebook, Stamp Junkies, wrote in the comment is that they can't work on holographic cards. I don't think it was the mirrored card stack. I think it was the holographic one. It just gets, it gets them dizzy. So my suggestion to them, in a reply comment was, maybe, when they're doing their scenes, wear sunglasses or something, or cover one eye with like a pirate patch, and then work on their piece. No, I didn't say that. All right, so see that right down there? I'm putting that little beige. There's a little bit of a sand kind of, not sand bar, but I don't know, little sandy kind of area right next to the meeting of water and shoreline. But you know, did you know? Did anyone notice something that I'm forgetting to do, or I forgot to do right here? Let's see if anyone comes up with it. I'll give you 5 seconds. But it just occurred to me on this piece, the thing that I'm missing as far as coloring goes in this piece. Let's see if anyone notices here. There's no prize or anything like that, but you'll get bragging rights for the rest of the live stream here. Let's see. I know there's a little bit of a delay with this broadcast here. I think from when I say something to when it you guys hear it, I think it's like, I don't know, 5 or 7 seconds later. Let's see. Or even if you have you just take a photograph. You probably still have. Do you still have your originals of those, Jeannie? I always mailed those back to you when it was getting put up on the Stampscapes gallery. Sky Element. That's a good one, Ginger. And that is coming with more clouds. But what about with coloring on this piece? Now I need to add more depth and everything like that. I just did the preliminary tones on my greens down here, but now I don't see it. It's the reflections. It's the reflections of the these objects right down in here, which are in the designs too. I kind of leave it a little bit more kind of obscure so that you can do it or not. But do you see these objects right down here? Those are the reflections of the trees coming up from the. Now see, I kind of make it a little bit more obscure where it transitions off from darker to lighter down here. And same thing right here. See, those trees are reflected right down here. Like I said, I don't have it like a mirrored, like a perfectly, you know, it has to transition down here too, but we want some of those colors right in here, giving it more of a mirrored look, right? Now, I don't think it looks bad not having it. I just think it would look better with it. Okay, but here's the thing too. You don't want it, I don't want it so extreme down here because it looks too, I don't know, it looks too crazy. But having some of that warmth down there really kind of helps out with the kind of the mirrored element. Okay, so let me just do it. See, I'm just doing it with a really light tone right now. Now I peter it out around here. I don't have these trees up here reflected down here, because that would have been like a $15 stamp, you know, at the time. So it has to transition off from a practical sense too. But also, you know, that reflection down there, I mean, in really, really super mirrored, you know, lakes or ponds or something like that, like early morning, you know what I mean? Sometimes you can't tell what's up and down, like it's like a photograph, it's like zoomed in. But for the most part, you know, with like ripples on the water, something of that sort, you know, there would be a little bit of a difference in intensity from the colors that are, you know, creating those reflections. Okay, let's see, right around in here. Let's go with some of this down here. So I'm trying to build them up again from you know, just a really pale application. And I'll move into the brighter one. See, it just barely shows up right now. Okay, let me see. You can't even see it in some areas. But you see that little tinge of, I don't know, whatever, yellow orangish over there. Right in here. And then right over here, you can see it kind of coming down like right to here. Let's go a little bit more. Something like that. Okay. All right. Let's go a little bit brighter. I think that's brighter. Let's see. I'll try to match kind of what's being reflected a little bit more, but that was my foundation layer. And this one's still fairly neutral. You know, yellow. It's a little bit yellow, orangish yellow, but it's still fairly light, so I can add some of this down here and still, you know, blend in greens into it. But again, I don't want to go too extreme because I don't have anything else down here, so it's going to have to transition off really kind of nicely. I can use white pigment ink in here, which I was going to do anyways, but I don't want to have to use like a ton of it anywhere in here if I don't have to. All right, that orangish tone. Okay, so add a little bit right here where this is reflecting down here. So this kind of just looks like this little, and it's not scumbling, but if it was like a drier pen, it would kind of almost be like that. That's what they call what you do when you kind of just go around when you're painting, and you just kind of, you know, I don't know, what scumble, you know, some little marks onto your scene, kind of like dry brushing, but not quite dry brushing. It's just kind of, you know, mixing some area together a little bit with a little bit of tone. All right, so there's that. And that's too extreme down here, remember, but I'm going to go back in here and just blend it out. But I needed to get some color laid out down there. Okay, so sometimes when I start doing this, the separation between the shoreline or the reflections and, you know, the imagery up there gets a little bit, you know, muddled. Okay, that's when I see this like line around in here on the shoreline. That's what I usually do with my white paint pen. Or in this case, I'll go in with my like tan or something like that, and I'll just redefine that. So it's just like, just going back over and reestablishing that little line right here. And then it's going around right in here too. And that's what separates these two areas a lot of times. And that's going to be really a lot of the fun part for me on this scene is the kind of the definition, that's little sparkling kind of element with the paint pens. I really like seeing it come together at that point in time. When I'm doing a lot of coloring, in certain scenes that I'm doing with a ton of color in them, the coloring portion to me, it's looking at a lot of kind of muddled areas, rich in tone, but muddled, okay? So I really like it when it all comes together with kind of a little bit more definition. See, right now it kind of looks like a, I don't know, like a, you know, not very well done watercolor painting or something like that. But again, like I always say, the paint pen work, or the white pen, you know, years ago when I was just only practically using that and the white pigment ink, it just, like I said, it brings it all, I always say it brings it all together. People get panicky when, you know, in a certain process, it's like, oh my God, it looks like that. But like I said, it's like a primer. You know, the fun of it and the exciting it, you know, everything kind of comes together in the end. Although, I don't know, it's looking okay, but it's definitely not like a finished piece or anything like that at this point in time. So set your foundations, you know, when you're doing your pieces to really get that pop and brightness in them. And this is like a weird process too, because I'm, like I said, it's like alcohol on holographic cardstock, you know, not your traditional type of surface to really do anything on as far as like colors go. Okay, so if you watch those tweaking videos, I've been doing a lot of applications of alcohol inks and colored pencils in my shadow areas. Okay, so on this one right here, here's what I learned. Let me try to apply some of it. So, like these violet tones and those oranges look pretty good. So let's try some of that in these shadow areas, okay? So here's a little bit of this pink right here. Okay, just straight pink, but it is going over the top of those other warm tones in here. I don't think you guys can see this at all. Maybe you can see a little bit of that tinge. Yeah, you can see a little of that, you know, that purple right there, what that's adding to that. So, yeah, it's kind of glowing a little bit purple now. Let's see, let's do it over here. This right here. See how light it is like that? But now see that, look at that tinge. See, it's kind of related to that over there too. And just go right up in here. And it's a little bit of a warmer purple because we've added, you know, like that type of color, like a warm beige type of color underneath it, you know. So this is what this looks like just on, you know, this paper, but it looks a little bit different like right up in there. Fairly light color, so I can use it in both the shadows and the light areas. The darker you get, kind of, you know, stay in the shadows a little bit more. Like that. But you see that kind of purplish tinge there, kind of working in conjunction with that. Let's add some of this pink then, since we added it down here so prominently. Let's add a little bit of it up in here in some of these areas. It's not going to read as pink, but you'll get a little of that tinge in a couple of the areas. I need to be careful here because I think I'm starting to eat down below some of that sealant because I've added in so many layers up here already. I could feel it kind of eating away at some of them. Because when I'm hitting this now, it's like really spreading the color out, I think. I don't know if that's indicative of kind of going, you know, beneath those layers or not. Okay, there we go, right there. Light, darker. Maybe this is too dark. Okay, so this one's really dark right here. I'll need this one right here. It's like the color of my shirt almost, or maybe this one is. Yeah, I like that. I think that'll be good. Okay, so a little bit more in the shadow areas of the rocks. Super prominent, so I'll blend it out again. You go light, dark, light. Okay. Or light, darker shadows, and then blend out with your lighter pens again, kind of. So again, what I'm doing is these like darker lines in here. I'm just reiterating that with my purple pen here, or this darker purple. It's like a medium tone, you know, purple. It's not super dark. It is picking up some of that black that's been laid down on there, even though it's been spray sealed, but not too bad. This pen's super juicy. I haven't used it too much in the past. I've used a lot of the pastel colors, but with the spray sealing, you know, and the potential shadow richness. I'm starting to use a lot more of my pen, I don't know, whatever collection, going into those the mid tones to darker tones for the shadow areas. All right, so that's what that looks like. So see that right there? It's not blended in at all. Okay, so then we're gonna hit it, go back, and we'll hit it with, here's a little bit of this bluish. And I don't know if I like that one. Let's see. Maybe in some of these shadow areas. I thought it was going to be a little bit more violet. Yeah, let's hit it in the shadows though. I still think it looks okay. All right, and let's move into gray here. Oh, yeah. So this is white pigmenting. Yeah, that definitely has to be added in. You don't have them anymore. Yeah, I was thinking with your move, maybe you didn't have those originals anymore. I mean, they're on the Stampscapes site. I could save the image or something like that and upload it too. Or I mean, you can too. The scanned, the versions, or I don't know, you can just scan even like a couple of them. That would be a good one for that. That would have been a good. I mean, there's only you want to show your latest work, in Rubber Stamp Madness, but it'd be kind of cool to have like your like everyone's like periods, like your op art period or something like that. Now's your stamp expressionism is going on right now. Or you're gonna have like a cubist period or something like that. Okay, so nice tones down here. Those purples like that. It's a little bit. Oh, this area and this area needs a little bit more of a unifying color. Okay, so I'm thinking green right in here, okay? Not green rocks, but just having a little bit of it somewhere, just to bring some of this color down into this area. I mean, it could be a brown or something like that too. Let's do both. Let me see. Let's try this one right here. I might have already used this, but we'll do it again here. Now I'm going into some of these areas, and some of these areas might already have a color laid down, but then see, if you kind of go over these unsealed alcohol applications that you've done, then you're kind of lifting it. You see that lighter area right there? I just lifted off some of that color right there, I think. I think that's why it's lighter. Like that. See this? I can lift that up. Now I need to be careful that I don't eat through, the sealant again. If anything, I want to just kind of lift off some of that alcohol on there, to, reveal some lighter areas. Maybe I'll try to do that, but I'll just, I don't want to eat down below the, whatever, the sealant safety line. Okay, but anyways, getting some of this color up here, or removing some of that color. Now let's bring some of that color down in this area, okay? Oh yeah, I definitely needed that warmth there. See that right there? it's like warmer than these rocks, but it looks like I think quite a bit better now, like that. Okay, it's still a little bit nuts, but I just needed some of this warmer tinge down here. I think that's what was going on here. It was all cool tones below or neutral, and we needed a little of this warmth up here to not match, but pair with that a little bit more. Now the rocks aren't gonna get, you know, have too much of an acrylic paint pen type of thing, you know, like autumn leaves are like that. But having some of these down here that are just textured and modeled a little bit more seems to help quite a bit. And this imagery in here, like, again, there's going to be imagery stamped in here. There might even be like a foreground element, like a deer standing right here. It'd be kind of cool, you know, flanked with some other trees and foliage coming in here. I might even do some coming up from, you know, over the top like that. All right, so I thought this gray here would add to my shadows a little bit, but it almost, well, okay. I thought it was lightening it up a little bit, like removing, you know, ink instead of applying. Yeah, maybe it is in some areas. In some areas, it's not. So I do want to get a little bit more. I had to go to black last time, didn't I? And then blend that out. And this one's like too hardcore though, like that. But yeah, let me see if I can lay some of that down and mix that out. I don't want to have it, you know, like sitting on there for too long, because then I won't be able to blend it out. I don't think it just gets like fixed on there. So a couple of these little applications like there and there and there, and then I just blend them out with the gray like that. All right. Yeah, see that these rocks kind of have a little bit of a warmer glow now in a couple of areas with that other tone. Okay, so I added that gray down there. Let's add some of it up in our shadow areas, like underneath the trees, maybe. This area's really gotten muddled in here. That's going to be fun to kind of bring out a little bit more with the paint pens, because this one's like, you know, I'm using a ton more ink on these trees than I normally do, just because it's on this type of surface right here. It's like coloring imagery on top of, like, I would guess if we did it like aluminum foil, like on the matte side of the foil, you know, there's a shiny side and the matte side. I think that's what this, if we were to use like aluminum foil, well, I guess this is a holographic foil, I guess, but, you know, as far as like, I don't know, comparing it to something in the household, you know, so you have to kind of get a lot of it laid down like that, you know, in order to kind of, you know, get it to stand out against that background like that. So, yeah. All right, so that's my alcohol ink application part, or whatever, part 2 of this scene. I'm pretty sure we're ready for the paint pens now, and then the paint pen work in there, which should be I don't know if it's going to be fast today. I think it'll be fairly fast. And then additional imagery, foreground like this. Or wait. Or would it be the white pigment ink? Who said that? Cynthia did, with white pigment ink up here. So a little bit more definition with some clouds. I have that white pigment ink going over the tops of my trees like this, okay? But I think we need more kind of structuring. So there's this whole area in the sky and water that are, you know, for the most part, it's just this like rectangular area in there. So I think kind of having like some more billowy clouds in here, even if they're not super opaque, you know, we could still have some of these colors showing through them. I think that'll be good. And maybe reflected in the water down here. Foreground imagery done maybe in the StazOn ink, because I think that'll stick to this really well. Maybe more black Brilliance ink will work for my foreground imagery. But the thing is about the black black Brilliance ink on here, I think it'll give a really good thick application. But if I use that, I'm gonna have to spray seal it again. But if I use StazOn and it works really good and gives me a really good impression over the top of it, I don't have to spray seal it. So I don't know if I want to mute, you know, those paper tones anymore than they already are, which is like 5 layers of sealant on it, you know. So maybe going to the StazOn. I'll have to do like a test print in the meantime to see if it's going to stick. Or maybe I'll do like a foreground element over here with StazOn. And if it stamps like in this area really well, then I'll do my little subject matter, whatever it is, a boat or, you know, canoe or something like that down in that area. But we'll figure it out when I get to it. All right, let's see. Hello, Bonnie. Thanks for the order, Bonnie. Yeah, they're heading out to you right now. And yeah, you have quite a few for sure coming to you. I hope you like trimming rubber. I didn't ask, you know, I don't know, 9 out of 10 people that order some unmounted sets, whenever I've asked them in the past if you want some help with the trimming, they usually say no. I don't know, maybe I should have asked, but yeah. You gonna try this one out, Linda? So, okay, so if you just joined in too, I think I showed this in the beginning of the video, but this is the paper that I'm using right here, okay? Almost kind of unusable in some ways with scenes, unless you're doing like some really just super bold, blocky silhouette styles of stamps. But see, I've laid down some white inks in here, and I've spray sealed this a few times so that overspray, you know, I'm spraying my imagery for the most part, or wherever I've laid down white ink. And then, you know, through several layers of spray sealants, it mutes that type of extreme patterning like that, okay? You know, to a decent degree. Now, if you just do one layer, you know, something with people, hey, I don't want to mute it out that far. This has like been spray sealed like 5 times though, okay? The white, spray sealed, imagery, spray sealed, and then I did a little bit of shading down here, and then I sprayed it again. And I not only sprayed it with a workable fixative, but it was with a triple thick. So it's like a really thick application of that acrylic ink. But I think for scenes like this, I think that looks pretty good, you know, with that type of patterning up there now. So it's made it, for me, a little bit more usable in terms of a scenic stamping surface, you know, with those types of, and, you know, I think those, you know, there's different types of whatever colors and hard, aggressive patterns in there are a lot more mellow and, I don't know, I guess I would say natural looking. This, now you know, I want to use some of it like this sometimes and have it unnatural looking, you know, maybe for, you know, like crazy, you know, like Northern Lights or light pillars or something like that, you know. But it's just kind of nice to know that, you know, something like this that you wouldn't think to stamp, you know, I'm going to stamp in, you know, an autumn scene on this, I think it's going fine right now. You get those little kind of iridescent, little rainbowish patternings that you see in some clouds. But again, I'm going to add, some more clouds up here with the rip paper towel technique. Oh, I am going to have to spray seal anyways with the additional white pigment ink in here too. So, but it'll just kind of mellow it out a little bit more, and hopefully those different types of patterns will look like those little, kind of colorful patterns that you see in, I don't know, the, cloud at high noon sometime or something like that, or at nighttime you see those like little moon, I don't know, whatever, like halos or what, not a halo, but what was that thing? Corona. Okay, sometimes you see those like different colors in the Corona, and they're kind of more mellow. They're not gonna be as intense as this, but a little bit more akin to it than that bare paper like that. So anyway, time for loud paper. The more louder, the better, Linda. Okay, but what I was saying too in the beginning of this video was this paper right here now with that patterning reminds me a little bit more of the Recollections holographic paper. It doesn't have that patterning of this one right here, okay, but just that mellow kind of, more mellow looking color intensity of the Recollections paper. That's what it reminds me of a little bit more so, which I find, very useful to use, something like this. It's easier to use because it's already inherently a lot more mellow. So, but this one right here, if it didn't start off, as intense as it was, then I don't think I'd be able to spray seal it like this and have it still effective in terms of, doing what it does on there like that. So I don't know. So I don't know. It's kind of just working with the paper and, I don't know, just making use of it, working around those characteristics, and some of them are that, we might see as unusable becomes the thing that makes it usable in this process right here with the spray sealants and, additional layering like that. It was bold enough to hold up against all that additional layering in there. And like I said, I hope it still reads really well with an additional layer that I'm going to have to put on after I add those finishing touches with the pigment ink in there. So anyways, blabbing on here. I'm a, stamping and paper geek, so I tend to talk too much about these types of things like this. But anyways, it's really fun stuff. So I have the initial video of how I laid this out, which isn't any different than if you've watched any of the holographic videos in the past where I do that thing called blocking out, with the white pigment ink. But that's on there and that's been posted, so if you're ever curious about that. And then at the end of this one, I'm going to do like a real, I don't know, like a 5-minute video of the entire process, just really sped up. You can see that. But I'll try to make it on here maybe tomorrow and add the next media layer on here, which I think will really wake up this piece visually, especially in the fall foliage in the background there. All right, thanks everyone for joining in. Good to see you all as always, and hope you have a great rest of evening. Good night, everyone. Or if you're anywhere else in the world, good. I don't know if morning, but maybe afternoon.